Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're back with my Oshin and Adine piece, but today we're coloring it in. I had to speed it up a lot today because it took me 2 hours to color this in. Not sure why. I don't know. I think it's because it's big. Like I said before, I'm not really used to coloring big pieces in anymore. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it again, but this did take me a really long time. And I do have 5 more to do after this, because like I said yesterday, I do want to do all of the bad kids and all of the rat grinders, and so I don't know how long it's going to take me to do all of those, but this Adine and Oshin one is done. Done in quotes. I do color the whole thing in pretty much. I don't do the smoke by the end. The smoke is supposed to be like coming out of Oshin's mouth because I'm not sure how I want to do it quite yet. I just left it white. I feel like it looks fine as it's just white. I'm not gonna leave it that way. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to make it gray or if I want to make it red to go along with like the Encarna's Rage and stuff. But I was like, if I make it gray, then I can make it simulate like the clouds of the storm, because I believe that Oshin was the one who called the storm in the first place. So I don't know what I want to do with that quite yet. And also I do want to add some digital effects over top of this piece, because like I said before in yesterday's video, I do want Oshin to be sort of kind of fading a little bit more into the background. I thought about doing it with my markers, but I decided I wasn't going to do that because I felt like, well, if I just leave it with this on the page, it'll look fine on the page, right? And then when I bring it in digitally and change it, I can adjust the way I want the colors to look, because once I put it on the paper, I cannot take it off of the paper, right? If I put it on the paper, it's like that forever. Like, I can do a little bit of editing in digital software in Procreate and stuff, but I can't like completely change the color. I'm not skilled enough to do that. So I was like, I'll just leave it as just a simple shading, just leave it the way that I put it that way, and I'm gonna scan it and put it in digitally, and I'm gonna adjust the colors to get it to more of a finished look that I prefer. Sorry, I'm not really gonna show you guys that, just because like I said, this took me 2 hours to work on, and so I kind of don't really want to work on it digitally, and also I'm running out of time for the video. So yeah, I am gonna work on that eventually. You might see it over on my Instagram eventually, but I'm not sure yet. So yeah, I did a little bit of coloring for Adine. Was actually the more simple of the two. I did struggle a lot with Oshin's coloring, but I'll talk more about Oshin when we get to him. Just for Adine, I made her hair. Her hair is obviously blonde, but I think I kind of messed with the colors a little bit too much. So when I color blonde hair, I do like to use E50, E51, and E53 typically for blonde hair. I've already talked about this a little bit in the past before. I don't like to color blonde as yellow personally. That's just me. But Adine's hair, it is blonde, but it's actually a bit lighter than the way I colored it. I feel like I maybe should have left some white space instead. I just colored all of it in, and then I started adding highlights after. And so the lightest color was E50, and then I shaded it even more, and I even put some pink in there, which sounds a little bit random, but I put pink in it because I watched this video one time of this girl, and she was creating a wig to make blonde hair, and she put a bunch of different colors in there, and she put like browns, and she put like reds, and she put green, and she put pink, and it made like this very nice platinum blonde color. And I was like, what if I did that with art? And I do that now whenever I draw blonde hair, not all the time, but I decided to do it with this one. But I think the paint that I used was maybe a little bit too vibrant, and so it kind of changes the way the blonde looks. I mean, I still like her hair still looks blonde, but it's maybe a little bit too dark in comparison to Adine's true hair color, but that's fine. What can you do? It's okay. Yeah, so that's how I felt about the hair. For the eyes, I kind of sort of went toward the eyes last. I'm still doing the hair here, but I'll talk a little bit about the eyes because it is a little bit of a longer process. The reason why her eyes look like that is because obviously in the story of Fantasy High, whenever she's like divining or seeing a vision of the future, her eyes glow kind of blue. And so I wanted to do that here too, but I wanted to keep it pretty simple. I thought about having like the light sort of coming out of her eyes, kind of, or like these little electricity bolts sort of. And then I was like, I really don't want to do that. So I just wanted to leave her eyes sort of kind of blank. For a while, I was just thinking that maybe I would just leave them white. But then I was like, no, I feel like maybe something kind of plain. And then I was going to be super tempted to like add shadow, and it would look more like her eyes are rolling back instead of her like eyes glowing. And so I decided instead I was going to make her eyes glow. And so it wasn't exactly super hard once I remember how to make things glow. If you want to make something look like it's glowing, you only leave like the center of it white typically, and then you're gonna go over it with the outer edge is typically the darkest, and then you go in with lighter colors until you get to the center where it's white. That's how I do it. I don't know if that's like super helpful for you guys, but that's generally what I do. I feel like it makes her eyes look like they're glowing. And I could have added a little bit more light outside of her eyes to make it to really like buy that they're glowing, but I was like, I don't want to push it, so I just left it all contained within the eye. But I did use some blue in the shadows of Adine, so it does look even just a little bit like it's glowing a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit. I didn't use too much blue because I really wanted to go ham with the blue, but I was like, no. As soon as I put it down, I was like, oh no, it's starting to look muddy. So I was able to restrain myself and not add too much blue for that one, thankfully. Then after I finished Adine, I went ahead and started on Oshin. For Oshin, I started off first with making one of the lenses of his glasses red, as part of like the rage stuff for like Encarna, and to show that he's like possessed by a rage star. I thought about making his eye also red, but then I was like, well, there's not really any point of making his eye also red if like his glasses is like blacking out his other eye with the redness, and so I didn't add his other eye red color it his normal color of yellow. I think I really did good for the shading for that side of his glasses. I feel like I didn't do as good a job as the other side with his eye. I put like a lot of effort into making that red part of his glasses look nice, and I'm like, I think that's the most detailed part of the piece, and I feel like it actually really stands out, maybe in like a bad way. Like it's like it draws a lot of focus, and I guess that's a good thing, in the sense that it draws your eye, and it's like the most I guess it's pretty important to the story of the piece is that he's possessed by like a rage star and stuff, and so the redness is actually pretty important, but that's the only spot of the piece that is red, and so just a big red circle right in the middle of the piece, and I'll just like look right here, and so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done it so intensely red. I feel like it's just a little bit too intense, especially compared to like the shading on everything else. But what can you do? I mean, I think it looks nice. I feel like if I colored like sunglasses on a different character, that red, it looks really good. But also I feel like I went a little bit too intense with the shading on it, and so it's just like really striking in a way that just kind of draws too much focus, in my opinion. And then also, I should have saved the red for last because I don't know what it is about red Copic markers, but every time I use a red Copic marker, I feel like if I go over it with something that isn't red, it's gonna smear no matter what. And you bet your bottom dollar I smeared it. You see that just right there? I was freaking the hell out when I smeared that just then. I was like, no! I was like, fuck! You can't hear it because I cut out the audio from when I'm recording. But I was like, freaking out for a second. But thankfully, I feel like you can still see it. You can definitely still see it. But it's not super noticeable unless you're like looking at it, staring at it like I do. I'm staring at it right now, but I'm trying not to. This was actually a pretty fun piece to do. The only thing I feel like I kind of regret about it is that Oshin is way too small. I would have liked to make him much larger. And then also when I was thinking about this piece, I was like thinking about what I should add in the background, and I kind of just colored the background in black with like a subtle gradient. Like it's so subtle that you don't even notice it, like it's too subtle. But I was like, oh, I should have added ping pong balls, because ping pong balls were sort of kind of like super integral to the scene, and like I feel like, oh, that would have been like a good thing to have like falling in the background as the ping pong balls. And I was like, fuck, that would have been so good to add in there, but I didn't think of it, so there are no ping pong balls in this illustration, unfortunately. And also, sorry, but you see, I colored in the background for this black, but part of it gets cut off. I don't know why, what happened. Literally, I'm so worried about my camera cutting off that I check my camera like every 2 to 5 minutes to see if it's cut off, and then when I don't check it, that's when it cuts off. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like I try to be hyper vigilant, and then whenever I'm like just doodling, I'm coloring it in, that's when it's like, you forgot to check on me, motherfucker. Now you lost all that footage, which sucks ass, like really bad, but you know, what can you do? And so after I do the background, I go in with the white highlights. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I actually I'm very lax with the highlights for this one. I felt like the piece didn't really need a lot of highlights. I mean, I added some to Oshin's eyes and some under Adine's eyes, but other than that, I didn't really add any. I felt like maybe the piece was a little bit too serious for if I just put like hearts on her eyes and over her nose. Maybe I'll change my mind on that later, but for now, I just like, it's probably better to keep those off. I felt like maybe it'd make the piece look a little bit too cutesy, and something about trying to make a piece look cutesy when it's like some guy threatening violence to like kill your friends and stuff, and they enacted a plan to like launch you all the way through the air, just felt like out of character. So anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.